Dear students, you are welcome to our video channel. I am Vellore, English teacher with Vidhyalakshmi school. Today we have a wonderful topic, Prose 2 of 12th standard metric English textbook, a nice cup of tea. This is the topic, and this piece of prose is really wonderful and interesting because this is taken for everyday activity. Every day it's a part and parcel of a human being. This is what I can say. Okay, this is written by a very famous British writer, George Orwell, or Eric Arthur is the real name, and George Orwell is the pen name for him, right? So this is a picture of Eric Arthur or George Orwell, very famous writer, and he died at the age of 50, and it's a 20th century poet. Okay, George Orwell has a very important quote in his life: if people cannot write well, they cannot think well. If they cannot think well, others will do their thinking for them. This is what he has written, and it's a very famous quote by George Orwell. Okay, so generally a cup of tea. It's a very quite familiar topic. Before entering topic, I would like to know a few things from you. That is, if someone comes into your house, say for example relatives and friends, when they just step into your house, what would you do generally, and what could be your immediate reaction? What could be your first conversation with them? So how will you begin with your conversation? Probably you may begin your conversation with, would you like to have a cup of coffee, cup of tea, or cup of fruit juice? You may ask these questions, right? So it is part and parcel of inseparable thing from our civilization, right? So nice cup of tea is a very quite familiar topic, and George Orwell gives as many as 10 important points how to make tea. Therefore, this one is very important one. Okay, so let's see what he is trying to say in this particular piece of prose. So we have different teas, black tea, lemon tea, and so many teas we have, right? So the tea estate, what you see on the screen is a tea estate. We have so many in the southern part of India and also Sri Lanka. Okay, and what you see on the screen is a green tea, and people out drink so many. So many people drink this tea because they believe that this reduces weight and cholesterol, and they want to fit, so they have this tea. So let us see the first paragraph of this particular lesson or prose, right? If you look up tea in the first cookery book that comes to your hand, you will probably find that it is unmentioned. What is unmentioned? How to make tea is unmentioned. This is what he is trying to say. When you get any cookery book or any book on cooking, on recipe book, if you get, just take and find out whether in the index you find how to make tea. Okay, probably it won't be there. Okay, unmentioned. Even if it is mentioned, it may be a few lines of sketchy instructions. He says, see, or most you will find a few lines of very sketchy, very outline instructions which give no ruling on several most important points. So the book that comes to you, okay, whenever you go somewhere, when you see any kind of cookery book, okay, book on how to cook and all these things, you find how to make tea. Probably first point is you will not find it. It is unmentioned. Even if it is mentioned, you can see only few lines out of it, but there is no important point available. Okay, so this is curious. This is quite strange. Arthur calls it strange because not only because tea is one of the mainstays of civilization. Mainstays, part and parcel of civilization, without which civilization does not exist. Without tea, civilization does not exist. So many tea lovers are there. Around the corner you can see tea lovers, so many places. At afternoon tea, morning tea, as soon as they wake up they just take tea. So many lovers are there. So we have so many countries where people love to have tea, mainstays of civilization, like in this country also, Britain, okay, right, as well as in Ireland also. Higher is Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, but so many countries. He has mentioned few countries, but so many countries whose people like to have tea, and but because the best manner of making it is the subject of violent disputes. Of course, some disagreements, disputes means disagreement. Some disagreements are there in the process of making a perfect tea. Okay, if I tell these are the ways in which I can make a cup of tea, okay, but someone else is saying different ways of making tea, but that's why author says it's a subject to dispute, violent dispute, okay, right, fine. When I look through my own recipe book, he has his own recipe book, okay, so recipe book he has got his own recipe book for perfect cup of tea, okay. Is not telling tea or cup of tea, is telling perfect cup of tea. That's very important to note. I find no fewer than 11 outstanding points. He has got 11 points how to make tea, on how to make tea. Perhaps 2 of them they would be pretty general agreement. 2 points will be agreed upon by all the people, but at least 4 others are acutely controversial. Acutely means strongly controversial. It means people will not accept what you are saying. That's why it becomes a controversial. Controversial disagreements. Controversial is disagreement, disagreeing with each other. Therefore, it is controversial. Acutely, strongly controversial. Here are my own 11 rules. He is giving 11 rules, everyone which I regard as golden. All are golden rules according to me, George Orwell. I regard all these rules as golden rule, right? So, see what are the things he is trying to say. Okay, this is what his recipe book. So, first of all, one should use before entering points is telling few important basic things while preparing tea. Okay. First of all, one should use Indian or Ceylonese tea. Ceylon is nothing but Sri Lankan tea. You have to take Indian tea or Sri Lankan tea, because that will give you some good taste, right? China tea has virtues, of course, some values in it, okay, which are not to be despised nowadays. Despised means disliked. We cannot dislike, though we prefer to take Indian and Ceylonese tea. China tea cannot be rejected, cannot be disliked, but that is also somewhat okay, it means, okay. It's economical, right? Of course, yeah, it's a meager amount of tea will be there, and one can drink it without milk. You don't have to spend your money on milk. So, without milk it can be taken. So, that's why he calls it economical. Which tea is economical? Chinese tea is economical, but there is not much stimulation in it. There is no stimulation. Stimulation is what? Some energy, excitement, inducement, something, okay, like that. So, stimulation, okay. So, new feel of energy is not there in Chinese tea, is telling like that. So, one does not feel wiser when you take the other teas other than Indian and Chinese tea. If you take some other tea, one does not feel wiser, okay, it's not feeling wiser, and braver, okay, and more optimistic after drinking it. Optimistic is quite positive thinking, okay. From this you must understand that when you take some other tea you will not have, it means obviously when you take Indian tea or Ceylonese tea, what will happen? You will feel wiser. I am a knowledgeable person, I am a person of wisdom, I can feel like that, and I feel brave, I am brave, I am bold person, right, I can feel inside, okay, and more optimistic, I think positively after drinking it, it means. So, anyone who has used that comforting phrase, if anybody uses that comforting phrase. A nice cup of tea, it means, invariably means Indian tea. Okay. Invariably, constantly or unalterably, it means Indian tea. When somebody is telling you, please bring a nice cup of tea, it obviously it is referred to Indian tea, right? This is what he wants to say in the in this particular stanza, right? Then this is an urn. You can see the bottom will be so small, so it is used to store tea and other things in those days. Okay, he is talking about urn. Okay, secondly, tea should be made in small quantities. Okay, you cannot make it in big quantities, it won't be nice. Small quantities, you must make in small quantities that will give you perfect taste. That is, in a teapot. You must make in a teapot, separate teapot. You must have a separate teapot for it. You cannot use that particular teapot for other purposes. Right? Tea out of an urn, when you from out of an urn is always tasteless. When you pour tea in the urn, or when you prepare tea in the urn, right? Okay, it is a metallic vessel. Okay, it is always tasteless. According to George Orwell, it is tasteless. Tea from urn is tasteless. While army tea talks about army tea made in cauldron, another vessel, army cauldron vessel, taste of you get the taste of grease and whitewash. Grease and whitewash. Probably army people are using that particular vessel for many purposes, multi-purposes. Maybe sometimes they take grease, sometimes whitewash. Okay, teapot should be made of china or earthenware. Okay. Chinese ware or earthenware. Okay, both are good. Okay, teapot should be made up of china ware or earthenware. Maybe even if it is earthenware, if you make tea out of earthenware, it will be very tasty. He says like this. Okay, silver or Britannia. Okay, silver, both Britannia or both are metals, alloy metals, and in these wares, teapots produce inferior quality tea. Inferior tea, that is inferior, opposite to superior, low quality tea. It produces low quality tea. And enamel also pots, this is also it's okay, glass like substance, that is, and that is also worse. It is also worse. All the curiously, okay, all the curiously enough, a pewter teapot, another alloy. Nowadays it's not so bad. In pewter, if you make, it's not so bad. It is also a kind of metal alloy. Okay, alloy metal, I can say. It's not so bad. So, which is preferred by, according to author, which is preferred? Okay, you must understand, it's a Chinese ware or earthenware is very important to prepare tea. You cannot take a urn, you cannot take army cauldron, you cannot take silver, you cannot take Britannia, you cannot take enamel and other things. Okay.
வருஷ கணக்கா கஷ்டப்பட்டு சம்பாதிச்சு ஒரு பள்ளிக்கூடத்தில் எடுத்துகிட்டு போய் உங்களோட பசங்களை சேர்க்குறீங்க. நீங்கள் சரியான ஸ்கூலில் தான் உங்கள் பசங்களை சேர்த்துருக்கீங்களா அப்படின்னு சொல்லி திங்க் பண்ண எவ்வளோ நேரம் நீங்கள் டைம் ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணுறீங்க. இங்கே வித்யாலக்ஷ்மி ஸ்கூலுக்கு வாங்க, இங்கே இருக்கிற டீச்சர்ஸோடு நீங்கள் பேசி பாருங்கள். அது மட்டும் இல்லை, ஸ்கூலை சுற்றி பாருங்கள். இங்கே ஆன்லைன் கிளாஸஸ் அட்டன் பண்ணுறதுக்கு கூட அவங்க வாய்ப்புகள் ஏற்படுத்தி தருவாங்க. இங்கே தாங்க பேனல் போர்டு, டிஜிட்டல் பேட் எல்லாம் வச்சு கிளாஸ் எடுக்கிறாங்க. குழந்தைங்களுக்கு நல்லா புரிகிற மாதிரி எடுக்கிறாங்க. என் பசங்களும் இதே பள்ளிக்கூடத்தில் தாங்க படிக்கிறாங்க. நான் அவங்கள வெறும் ஆசிரியராக மட்டும் பார்க்கல. அவங்க உங்கள் குழந்தைகள் தவறு செய்யும் பொழுது, அதாவது ஒரு உதாரணத்துக்கு நான் சொல்கிறேன், இப்போ ஆன்லைன் கிளாஸஸ் அவங்க எடுக்கும்போது இந்த குழந்தைங்க ஏதோ ஒரு தவறு செய்யும் போது அவங்க இன்னொரு பெற்றோர்களாக கூட நான் பார்க்குறேன். ஏன்னா அவங்க உரிமைகளோடு கண்டிக்கிறாங்க, ஃப்ரெண்ட்லியாக பிஹேவ் பண்ணுறாங்க. இதெல்லாம் பார்க்கும்போது எனக்கு ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமாக இருக்குது. நல்ல இடத்துல, அதாவது என்னோட குழந்தைங்களை சேஃப் ஹேண்ட்ஸில் வச்சுருக்கேன் அப்படின்னு நான் ஃபீல் பண்ணுறேன். நான் சொல்கிறத கொஞ்சம் திங்க் பண்ணுங்கள். வித்யாலக்ஷ்மி ஸ்கூல் தான் பெஸ்ட்டுன்னு உங்களுக்கு தோணும். இல்லைங்க, நீங்கள் 4-5 ஸ்கூலோட கூட கம்பேர் பண்ணி பாருங்கள். வித்யாலக்ஷ்மி ஸ்கூல் தாங்க சூப்பர். நான் சொல்கிறத கேளுங்க. உங்கள் பசங்களையும் வித்யாலக்ஷ்மி ஸ்கூலில் எடுத்துகிட்டு சேருங்க. உங்கள் குழந்தைங்கள பெஸ்ட் ஆக்குங்க.
Thirdly, So, it's going for third point. Okay. Second point is tea should be made in the small quantities. First point is vessel. First point is vessel. Okay. So, first point is it is Indian tea or Chinese Ceylon tea, and second point is tea should be made teapot. He talks about teapot. In third point, a pot should be warmed beforehand before using it for boiling. It should be warmed. This is better done by placing it on the hob. This is a stove. Okay. Then by usual method of swilling, rinsing with hot water. Some people will do rinsing with hot water. That cannot be done, but he is advising, suggesting. So, it must be placed on the hob and it must be warmed before making tea. That's what he is trying to say in the first three stanzas. Then fourth point. Fourthly, tea should be strong. It's very important. Some people will ask the tea master as soon as they enter the tea, it should be strong. So, if you are quite accustomed to that particular tea shop, as soon as you go, he understands that the person will drink strong tea. He makes a strong tea for you. Okay, this is very common in these that we experience in our life. Okay, fourthly, tea should be strong. This author prefers to drink a strong tea. Okay, for a pot holding a quart, 1/4 is a quart, right? 1/4 of the pot holding 1 liter, for example, quart. Okay, if you are going to fill it near brim, nearly up to the brim, that particular edge. Okay, when you are going to fill it nearly to the brim, 6 heaped teaspoons for that 1 liter. Okay, 6 heaped teaspoons will be like this. Would be about right. So, obviously, he is making a very strong tea in a time of rationing. At the time of rationing, what will happen? What's the time of rationing? It's not. You all know what is a ration shop and a ration card and other things. But in those days, especially during the time of war or famine or crisis or emergency, the distribution of ration items will be limited to citizens because it was like a cost cutting of the countries, okay, which is facing some crisis. So, rationing is limiting the ration. This is not an idea that can be realized on every day of the week, okay, but I maintain that one strong cup of tea is better than 20 weak ones. At the time of rationing, we cannot spend much on the tea time because tea may not be distributed to you. Even if it is distributed, it will be a very small amount of tea will be distributed to you. Okay, you will not have much tea in those time of rationing. Okay, government will not issue that time. So, that cannot be realized on those days. But he maintains that one strong cup of tea is quite better than 20 weak ones. If you drink 20 weak teas, okay, it is not going to give as much as stimulation that gives one strong cup of tea. Okay, all right. And true tea lovers, the same point continues, okay, in the paragraph. True tea lovers not only like tea strong. For example, if I am telling that I am a true lover of tea, I like the tea strong always, but like a little stronger with each year that passes. This year I take tea with some strength, right? Next year it will be little stronger, okay, and next year it will be stronger than this year, okay. So, this is how every year it becomes stronger with each year that passes. That is what he says. A fact which is recognized, understood in the extra ration issued to the old age pensioners of his country. Okay, old age pensioners are distributed with ration, right? So, this year if they take 2 kgs of tea, next year it may be 2.5 kg and next year it may be 3 kg. So, the amount of tea is kept on increasing. So, from this we can understand So people drink tea every year stronger, right? Okay. Fifth point is tea. The tea should be put straight into the pot. No strainers, no filters. Strainers means filters, no strainers or muslin bags. This is what muslin bag, right? You cannot have any kind of bag. Okay, don't have. You must put straight into the pot. Tea powder must be straight. Maybe it's a leaves or the powder must be put straight into the pot. No strainers, muslin bags or any other devices to imprison the tea, to capture tea. Imprison is capture tea. Don't have to capture using any bag-like substance, any bag-like device or no strainers. Okay, no, don't filter it. In some countries, teapots are fitted with little dangling baskets under the spout to catch the stray leaves. Spout is the exit point. Okay. So from where the tea is poured down, some countries now these teapots are fitted with some baskets in it. So why? In order to capture or imprison the straying tea. Okay. So that should not be done. Is against those type of teapots, dangling baskets under the spout to catch the stray leaves. So wandering leaves, that stray leaves, which are supposed to be harmful. So you cannot imprison it, you cannot take it, it's harmful. Actually, one can swallow tea leaves in considerable quantities. We can swallow, it will not cause any ill effects. He is recommending that one can take tea leaves in considerable quantities, more quantities without ill effect. See, there is no effect at all, ill effect. Therefore, you can take it, right? If tea is not loose, is not let loose in the pot, it never infuses properly, it never fixes properly, mixes properly. Okay, infuse, it will not infuse properly, infuse with the water. So you will not have the flavor. Okay, this is what he is trying to say. Fifth point is, do not use strainers or muslin bags, do not filter it. Okay, even if it goes to your stomach, there is no ill effect. This is what he is trying to tell. This is a muslin bag like. Okay, sixth point is, one should take the teapot to the kettle. Okay, you must have a tea kettle. Okay, so it's separately brought for purpose of tea. Okay, kettle, not the other way, but do not take other things. So it will be nice. Okay, the water should be actually boiling at the moment of impact. So you must keep your water that is used for making tea always boiling, which means that once keep it on the flame while one pours. Okay, this is very important. Okay, while pouring, it should be very hot. That's the reason why in some of the tea shops you can see a boiler is always boiling. Okay, the hot water, they use always hot water. Okay, so author is recommending hot water will be giving more effect while preparing tea. Some people had that one should only use water that has been freshly brought into the boil. Okay, but I have never noticed that it makes any difference. Okay, but actually it is not making any difference. You can use any water, fresh water also, or a boiled water also. It will not make any difference. Somehow you will boil it nicely, right? So it does not make any difference, he says. And this is a tea kettle. And seventh point is, after making tea, one should stir it, right? You must shake it. Okay, mix it properly, or better give a pot a good shake. Okay, the pot should be shaken very well afterwards, allowing the leaves to settle down. Okay, then pour it, distribute to other people. Okay, then make tea and distribute to other people. So stirring is very important. Very simple point. Seventh point is stirring or mixing it. Okay, or shaking it. Eighthly, one should drink out of a good breakfast cup. So after making tea is making one important point, what kind of tea cup you must use for drinking tea. Okay, This is also very curious from this author. Okay, when I was reading first time, I was very surprised to see this kind of points also is adding. So it's not only telling us how to make tea, but also what kind of cup you must use to drink tea. A good breakfast cup. What is that good breakfast cup? That is a cylindrical type of cup, not the flat cup. So it should be flat. It should be cylindrical. Okay, I'll show you the picture. Which is a cylindrical and which is a shallow type. Okay, and shallow type also should not be flat. The breakfast cup holds more. It holds more tea, right? Breakfast cup. With the other kind, one's tea is always off cold before you well started on it. One has well started on it. Before you start drinking, what will happen? It become cold. So the heat will be transferred to some other place. It has become, it has cooled down. So it will not give you the exact taste, right? Therefore, you should use a very good cylindrical type of cup. So that cup will keep the heat to some extent, and also it holds more. Okay, the flat cup will always lose the heat. Okay, right. See, this is the flat cup and cylindrical type of. Author prefers to take cylindrical type of teacups. Okay. Then ninthly, yes, 11 points. Ninthly, one should pour the cream of the milk before using it for tea. This is very simple point. Cream should not be there. What is the cream? Milk that is too creamy. That's creamy always gives a sickly taste, a sick taste, a bitter taste. People don't like that cream on it. Okay, what's the cream? When you boil milk, a layer is formed above the milk, right? That layer is creamy. I'll show you. This is what the creamy. Okay, the cream should be removed while making tea. This is what he says. It gives a sick taste. Okay, if you are a person who is making tea in your house, okay, remove this cream, okay, and make tea. So it will be nice for you. Okay, that's what he says. Before using tea, milk that is too creamy will give you a sickly taste. Okay, right. Tenthly, one should pour tea into the cup first. Okay, this is one of the most controversial, most disagreeable point of all. Indeed, in fact, in every family in Britain, there are probably two schools of thought on the subject. This is the subject. Two schools of thought means two kinds of thinking, two kinds of ideas, two kinds of ways to make tea. Okay, in Britain especially. What is one? Whether to pour the milk first or whether to pour the tea first in the tumbler. Okay, so it's the most controversial point subject. He himself agrees. Okay, then what he says further about it? Milk first in the tumbler, then adding some tea, decoction tea, right? Okay, or pouring decoction first, then milk second. Okay, which is correct? The milk first school of thought can bring forward some fairly strong arguments. What's a strong argument? But I maintain that my own argument, okay, is stays only is argument. Okay, milk first thought will be different. First milk, then you pour the decoction, right? So tea. Okay, this is what happening in the some of the tea stalls also. We can watch very well. Sometimes they first they pour milk, then add tea. But author says, I maintain that my own argument is unanswerable. This argument is unanswerable because people don't give much importance to this one. And this is that by putting the tea first and stirring as one pours, one can exactly regulate the amount of milk, whereas one liable to put too much milk if one does it the other way around. Okay, when you put tea first and when you pour milk, stirring it, you can exactly regulate the amount of milk. So, this much milk I needed, okay, this much milk is enough, okay, you can think like that and you can stop. But when you pour, okay, milk first, then liable means responsible. You become responsible for putting too much milk if it is milk first. Okay, so author is trying to suggest that tea first thought. Okay, you must understand. This is what author says. But two schools of thoughts are there. But I do not know which one will be tastier. Okay. Lastly, tea. Okay, lastly. Okay, last point. This is very important point. Lastly, tea. Unless one is drinking it in the Russian style, it should be done. Like a Russian, you must take the tea. How does a Russian take tea? How does a Russian taste tea? Right? Lastly, unless one is drinking it Russian style, you must use Russian style. What is that? Should be drunk without sugar. My God, it was shocking when I read for the first time. It was quite shocking. Tea, can it be possible? Can I take a tea without a sugar? For example, when your mom is given, when someone is given tea without sugar, can you taste it? Can you drink it? What will you do? So, Russian people, according to author, take tea without sugar. And he himself says, I know very well that I am in a minority here. Minority means I am the only one person talking about take tea without sugar. Okay, but I know I am minority. Many of you will not agree with me, right? So, he says, many of the people will not agree with me. Okay, but still, how can you call yourself a true tea lover if you destroy the flavor of your tea by putting sugar in it? Okay. But still, how can you call yourself? People call themselves sometimes true tea lover. Okay. True tea lover, how can you call if you destroy the flavor of your tea by putting sugar in it? What happens? What's the logic behind these lines now? So, when you take tea, right, it should taste only tea, right? But according to author, when you add sugar in it, it destroys the flavor of the tea. Okay, destroys the flavor of the tea. Therefore, how can you call yourself a true tea lover? He's asking such important questions. So, it's a black tea sometimes now. It would be equally reasonable to put in pepper or salt. You can take hot water, put pepper in it. It becomes a pepper water. Take a hot water, you put salt in it, it becomes a salt water. You take hot water, you put sugar in it, it becomes a sugar water. That's why he says, if you sweeten it with sugar, it means you are no longer tasting the tea, you are merely tasting the sugar. Right? Okay. So, he says, he has a point, dear students. He says, in the tea, if you add sugar, it destroys flavor of the tea. You are not tasting tea, you are merely tasting the sugar. You could make a very similar drink by dissolving sugar in plain hot water. Okay. Author equates a plain hot water to a tea with added sugar. Okay. Author is strongly preferring not to add sugar in it. Okay. If you take sugar, you cannot call yourself tea lover because you are adding sugar in it. You are tasting only sugar. Okay. You can make similar plain sugar water by adding sugar in it. Okay. There is no difference between tea with sugar and hot water with sugar. Okay. So, this is very important point to note. Some people would answer that they don't like tea in itself. Okay, why they take tea? They only drink it in order to be warmed and stimulated. So they want to feel themselves energized, warmed, and stimulated, induced. Okay, and they need sugar to take the taste away. Okay, they need sugar to take the taste away. So sometimes sugar take the taste away. To those misguided people, they think that sugar will taste. Okay, and to those misguided people, these are the misguided people, those people who add sugar and drink the tea. Those people are misguided people. I would say, try drinking tea without sugar for say a fortnight. Fortnight is 15 days. 15 days or a fortnight. And it is very unlikely that you will ever want to ruin your tea by sweetening it again. See, is giving one important suggestion, is asking us to try. He says, those people who drink tea with sugar in it are misguided people. For those misguided people, I want to tell one important thing, try it out in your house or anywhere else. What is that? Try drinking tea without sugar for 15 days, for a fortnight, for 15 days. Then you will become accustomed to it. Then you will become used to it. Then it is very unlikely that you will ever want to drink tea with sugar. Okay, you will not ruin your tea by adding sugar in it. So, if you practice drinking at least for 15 days without taking sugar, you will ever want to add it again. This is what he is trying to suggest in this point, okay, in point 10. Okay, tea should be drunk without the sugar. Okay, so we have lemon tea also here. These are not only controversial points to arise in connection with the tea drinking. These are not the only these are the important points that he has given. So some more are there, some points, but they are sufficient to show how subtilized the whole business has become now. This has become a business. Okay, how deceiving, how cunning, subtilized is cunning this business has become by adding sugar in it. People add sugar instead of tea, then they try to show that this tastes very well. It's also merely sugar in it. Subtilized, that's why called, it's a cunning, all business has become. That's equal mysterious social etiquette, social behavior. Etiquette is behavior, how to behave. So, set of rules to behave. Surrounding the teapot. Surrounding teapot, there are some etiquettes, right? Why is it considered vulgar to drink out of your saucer, for instance? Okay, cup is there, saucer is there. Cup is there, saucer is there. You pour the tea to the saucer from the cup, and when you drink, it is vulgar. So, there are so many things around tea. How one should take tea. Okay, so there are so many things. Some people, when they take tea, they will create so much of noise, okay, of tasting tea. So, that should not be done. So, there is a social etiquette for drinking tea also. Subsidiary uses of leaf teas, tea leaves, other uses, secondary uses. Primary use of tea is making tea, right? So, secondary uses. What are the secondary uses of tea leaves? Such as telling fortunes. Of course, some people use tea leaves for telling fortunes. Okay, they predict future, maybe fortunes. They are telling fortunes. Okay, then predicting is foretelling, foreseeing the arrival of visitors. So, arrival of visitors can be known. So, from tea leaves, these are the uses, other uses. Okay, feeding rabbits. Rabbits also eat tea leaves. Okay, so it's useful for rabbits. And healing burns. When you are wounded, okay, with fire, injury, with burns, it will heal quickly. And sweeping the carpet, when you take all the tea leaves together, when you can easily sweep the carpet. It worth paying attention to such details as warming the pot. So, is coming to conclusion. Okay, it's worth paying. You have to pay attention to even small details that I have suggested to make a better tea. That's what he's saying. So, worth paying attention to such as details, warming the pot and using water that is really boiling. So, it has to make quite sure of bringing out of one's ration 20 good. You even if you have 20 goods, okay, when you make perfect tea, okay, the tea that you buy, strong cups of that 2 ounces strong cup, okay, properly handled, how to represent the great, really tasty tea. Okay, small details, you just concentrate on very small details that I have given you. Okay, therefore, you can make a very nice cup of tea. Okay, this is what he says in this particular piece of prose. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and share. Thank you. Bye bye. See you in the another video.